Happy to be joined with the CEO of Numinus Wellness, Payton Nyquvest, joins us once again. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thanks. How you doing?
Good. It's been a couple of months since we last touched base, and just incredible growth for this industry, and more specifically your company. Big announcement, obviously, the end of last week on Friday, where you raised $40 million, and the over allotment option with the underwriters was fully subscribed. You now have a cash position of $65 million with no debt. So first question, why the raise right now, and what are your short-term efforts to use it?
Yeah, I think, towards the end of last year, we made a lot of representations in terms of our game plan for growth for 2021.
Yep.
And, the market's been favorable for the space, obviously. And, also seeing how quickly things are developing, especially in Canada. There's been a lot of conversation about the special access drug program.
Yep.
And even for us as a company, to see, the huge amendments to the license, our lab license that we've had,
Yep.
as well as, a real big momentum on the Numinus Health side of things. We've acquired a few more clinic locations, and our rollout plan and growth plan for 2021, really warrants a little bit of extra money in the till. And now, to be able to sort of look ahead at our growth strategy, which is fairly aggressive, and not have to worry about capital in order to do that is really setting the company on a really, really strong trajectory for the next while.
What's this say about the industry and the overall health when you're able to raise this kind of money? We've talked about in the past how this is just the beginning, and a lot of consumers, most importantly, and investors, let's face it, are important in this space. But where are we, I guess, because on paper, it looks extremely healthy, pointing in the right direction.
I say this a lot, but I think we're barely out of the first inning. I mean, we're still in this pre-regulation stage.
Yeah.
That to be said, regulation is changing rapidly. The amount of research that is happening in the space now, I've seen lots of different numbers of just this huge upward curve of research that's being done as well. So, I think we're just barely getting started. That to be said, unfortunately, the only graph that probably mirrors that is the graph around the struggles that we're still having with mental
Yeah.
health.
Well,
Anxiety, depression, suicide, these numbers keep going up. So, we need these treatments, and we need them now, and we need an infrastructure that can do a really good job of helping those people through those challenges.
Well, I know that often cannabis and psychedelics have a lot of comparisons, but what I've learned is that because the psychedelic industry is a 100% medicinal play, this actual industry, from what I'm hearing for a number of people, is moving at 6 to 7 times quicker than what cannabis is.
Hmm.
And, the comparisons end there. There is a lot of research that's being done. You've outlined, obviously, what people are going through. What's some of the feedback that you received? Because we had Dr. Wood on a couple of weeks ago. He was incredible as far as some of the things that he'd outlined. But as far as a lot of these policymakers are concerned, how much of a priority is it for them right now?
I mean, it's, obviously the mental health crisis that we're in right now is forefront of regulators and policy maker and changers' minds. The Health Canada announcing their intention to change the special access drug
Right.
program to include MDMA and psilocybin. That they launched that. They've done the 60-day comment period now. We're anticipating that change to probably come through within, I would say, the next couple of months.
Wow.
There was a lot of conversation just about, when is it happening? When is it happening? The thing I remind people with is remember, this is a countrywide drug policy change.
Right.
It's not going to take, frankly, I'd be concerned if it took 2 weeks. It's going to take a couple of months, but the intention is there. And, we've had lots of conversation with Health Canada, and the intention's real. They don't post the intent to change something unless they do plan on actually changing it. So, and that special access drug program, for people who don't understand what that means unlimited amount of Canadians can get access to MDMA and psilocybin assisted psychotherapy in Canada when that change happens. It's massive.
What does that look like for the industry, and especially specifically your company on day one?
Yeah, we've been growing this infrastructure around being able to actually, provide this therapy for people, and we talk a lot about this too, but it's really not as easy as just offering a psychedelic treatment for somebody. There's a ton of integration work, there's a ton of prep work, and not only that, but there's supportive mental health services that really need to be wrapped around this container in order to be really, really effective for people. So,
Right.
for us, that's really what we've been setting up over the last, 3 years now is that infrastructure to be able, to focus on the person first. What's the best possible outcome we
Right.
can give for people? And that's where our focus has been.
So your collaboration agreement with MAPS
You know,
positions you to be ready if and when that does happen, as you indicated, quite possibly MDMA being legalized within the next 12 months. You're a big research, obviously, leader in MDMA. But again, with that partnership with MAPS, what kind of opportunities and what kind of advantage, I guess, does that give you compared to other companies in the space? Because, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. A lot of the research that we do, we consider it implementation science. So, our partnership with MAPS, for example, the biggest bottleneck in this space is trained practitioners.
Hmm.
There's sort of this, you see this sort of space race with how many clinics are you opening and stuff like that. And that's great. We could go and open 100 clinics tomorrow, but if we don't have the people to actually carry out the treatment, it's a huge waste of resources and a big burn rate to tack on. So, our partnership with MAPS is really, a robust partnership around the training of practitioners, the utilization of their protocol, setting up, even the access to the actual MDMA. It's a robust partnership, but really anchored around the training of practitioners and the implementation of that protocol within an infrastructure framework, so that day one, as soon as we're able to do so, we can hold someone and take someone through an MDMA assisted psychotherapy protocol in a really, really robust way, and not, wait for essentially the ribbon to get cut and then go, okay, well, we better go and figure this out.
Yeah. Now we're going to understanding more and more of the narrative that you're building with the money that's being raised, possible legalization of MDMA, the expansion, obviously, of special access program. Now we start to imply the expansion of, your clinics. You announced, obviously, back in December with the Mindspace and the 3 revenue generating clinics. So what possibilities, I guess, in the next year, how much can your clinical model grow, obviously, now that you have a lot of your game plan that's starting to take fruition?
Yeah, the plan for us has always been, international growth for our clinic platform, starting in Canada, moving into the US, and then abroad.
Okay.
Canada right now it has taken a huge leadership position around regulation. And, for us, really, the model that we want to create and replicate, we really want grounded in what is actually happening in terms of the therapy.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that we're advancing our infrastructure in parallel with what's in reality actually happening, with these therapies. And that's, as we just talked about the partnership with MAPS, we have a psilocybin for substance use disorder clinical trial that we'll be launching this summer as well. And the opportunity for our locations to be able to iterate and learn and develop alongside the research under the same roof gives us the ability to build a really, really strong platform that is essentially created around what will be happening in the future. And that gives us the opportunity to expand really quickly. And, we have a strong virtual platform that we
Okay.
acquired with Mindspace, as well
Yeah.
as something that we've been developing as well. So it's infinitely scalable. And so far, from a market perspective, as we've talked about, there's a lot of people that need a lot of help right now,
Yeah.
and so we're really excited about what the future looks like around these therapies.
Well, it's incredible the growth of telehealth, is it not? And that is a
Yeah.
huge, huge business model that's going to garner a lot of interest. But yeah, it's incredible to see, obviously, what's taking place with the overall industry and how it continues to expand. As we continue to follow your story, we build the narrative for 3 business divisions, which is Numinus Health, Numinus Bioscience, and Research and Development. Last week, we actually sat down with your science officer, Sharon Sadhu, and she said, quote, "We won't patent IP that makes psychedelics inaccessible." And this, as you're, I'm sure, quote, I should say, garnered a lot of interest and feedback. So why do you think this is an important topic amongst many consumers and investors in this space?
Yeah, It's an interesting time right now for the space around
Yeah.
IP. These psychedelic molecules, there's no IP around owning a molecule, and
Mhm.
these most of these molecules naturally occur in nature. And for us to race out, try and patent something, try and own it, and try and control it is hugely restrictive. We talk about it Numinus all the time. Our focus is around accessibility and building trust. And you got to remember, these people that are coming through these therapies, they want to have trust with the organization. They want to know that you're there for the right reasons, you're there for them, and holding them through that process.
Mhm.
Hard to trust an organization that's trying to undercut the market and control it, and corner it for themselves. So I think there's been a race, I think, a little bit around IP. I think that's shifting very, very quickly. And for us, I think
You believe
research is
it is
go
shifting
ahead.
quite a bit? You're finding?
I think so. I think research is extremely important. I think the more, evidence-based approaches we can have to this, the better. But, everybody talks about this huge addressable, market that we're talking about in terms of the people that need help. To try and spend all of our time and capital on trying to control IP that is again going to be extremely difficult to try and protect. For us, we see some IP opportunities a little bit in the formulation of psilocybin,
Yeah.
the extraction work that we're doing, and that's just our formulation. But absolutely will not be patenting anything that makes this restrictive for people who need it, and that's been our mandate from the beginning. And I think you're seeing Tim Ferriss, for example, put out a big blog post the other day about this. Dr. Bronner,
Yeah.
I think that's going to continue because frankly, this space has been, or people have been greatly let down by big pharma
Mhm.
companies who took
Mhm.
that approach, SSRIs, things like that. That's the reason why we're in the state that we're in today. So you have to take different approaches.
How do you see it playing out? Do you know?
I
Yeah, I
wish I
hear
had
you.
a crystal ball, but I think the fact that you're seeing the movement that you're seeing now, and again, evident by our financing, is dollars are going towards groups that are just really interested in access.
Mhm.
And I think you're going to probably see money continue to flow that way.
Mhm.
Will the other types of companies in the space who are doing things like drug development, again, I don't discourage drug development or anything like that. I think all of that is important, but you have to keep the patient or the person in mind. And if you're doing things that are restricting access to try and boost your balance sheet, that's not what this is about.
Yeah, it's a very delicate topic for sure in the industry. Raising capital and obviously giving a return on your investment for shareholders is a very important thing, but equally, if not more important, is doing the right thing. And you outlined a lot of that stuff. And a lot of the feedback that we're receiving, including a recent poll on shroom stocks on Reddit, indicated that Numinus is by far and away the leader that most investors within the space believe will be a leader within that space. Based on that poll, what's that mean to you?
It just hugely appreciated that the intention that we've taken to this is being seen, and really, that's been the case for us from the very beginning. When we started this company, the plan was always, what's the biggest impact that we can make?
Yeah.
And that we have a statement that we've said in the company from the very beginning, is that our success will be dictated based off of the outcomes of the people who go through our doors.
Hmm.
And we really, really stick to that. I think the groups that will be really, really successful in this space are the groups who are doing really, really good work.
Hmm.
As we talked about, this is primarily a service-based model of people coming in for therapy. If you're not focused on the best outcome for people, and that looks like a lot of different things: affordability, accessibility, well-trained people and staff, and just care, like the real
Yeah.
genuine care that you're giving to the protocol that you've developed and the people. That's what's going to dictate success long term.
Yeah.
And that's been our focus.
Well, good for you because it appears the message that you're trying to communicate it amongst your team is starting to take fruition. So Great work, obviously, on Friday. Keep up the great work as we continue to expand, and let's keep in touch.
Love to. Really, really appreciate it, as always.
All right. Thanks, Payton.